The massive space station hung in the darkness like a metallic moon. Nexus Prime was bigger than most planets, built from the bones of dead worlds and powered by a dying star. For 3,000 years, it had been the center of everything that mattered in the galaxy. 12 alien races called this place home, and from here they ruled over hundreds of worlds. Admiral Hyun Woo stood before the council chamber doors, his blue skin gleaming under the artificial lights. The Zilithian warrior had seen many battles across the stars, but facing the council always made his hearts beat faster. Today he brought news of another primitive world that needed guidance, or destruction. The council would decide. The doors opened with a sound like thunder. The chamber beyond was enormous, with 12 raised platforms arranged in a perfect circle. Each platform held one of the council members, representatives of the most powerful species in the galaxy. Their shapes were strange and terrible. Some looked like living crystals, others like shadows with too many eyes. Admiral Hyun-woo walked to the center of the circle and knelt. "Speak, Zilithian," said Council Speaker Veltar. The crystalline being's voice rang like broken glass across the chamber. Light danced inside his transparent body as he waited for the report. Admiral Hyun-woo stood and activated a hologram projector. A small blue and green planet appeared between them, spinning slowly. "Council members, I present the world designation Sol 3. The natives call it Earth. We discovered it during our expansion survey 3 months ago." The hologram showed images of the planet's surface. Cities full of primitive buildings, roads crawling, with metal vehicles and tiny flying machines that used chemical fuel. The council members leaned forward to get a better look. Some made sounds that might have been laughter. "How primitive are they?" asked Councillor Thexmore of the ancient Dominion. The crystal being's voice hummed with amusement. "Very primitive, honored one," Admiral Hyun-woo replied. "They still use rockets to leave their atmosphere. Their fastest ships barely reach their own moon. They fight constant wars among themselves over resources and territory. Their weapons are mostly chemical, explosives and basic nuclear devices." More laughter echoed through the chamber. The council had seen thousands of worlds like this, species that thought they were important until they met real power. Earth would be no different. "Do they know about us?" asked another council member, a shadow thing called Mordeth. "No, honored one. They have primitive radio telescopes pointed at the stars, but they have detected nothing. We have been careful to avoid their observation attempts." Council Speaker Veltar's crystal body pulsed with bright light. "Then we follow standard procedure. They will submit or be cleansed." Far away from the council chamber, on the other side of the galaxy, Earth spun peacefully around its yellow star. But deep beneath the surface, in hidden bunkers and underground cities, humanity was not sleeping. President Park Ji-ho sat in the command center buried 3 kilometers under Seoul. The room was filled with screens and computers, all monitoring signals from deep space. Men and women in military uniforms moved quietly between the workstations, their faces serious and focused. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission from the outer monitoring stations," reported Dr. Lee Sora, Earth's top scientist who studied alien life. She was young but brilliant, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Put it on the main screen," President Park ordered. The transmission showed Admiral Hyun-woo's ship leaving the outer solar system. It had been there for 3 days, scanning everything, with instruments far beyond human technology. Dr. Lee So-ra had been tracking 12 similar visits over the past 2 years. Someone was watching Earth very carefully. "They're getting bolder," said General Kim Tae-ho, the commander of Earth's Secret Defense Forces. The older man's face was weathered from years of preparing for this moment. "The scans are more detailed each time," President Park nodded. "How long do you think we have?" "Not long," Dr. Lee So-ra answered. "Based on the pattern of visits, I estimate they will make contact within the month." The question is whether they come in peace or war. We know the answer to that, General Kim said grimly. Every signal we've intercepted from their space shows the same thing. They don't negotiate with species they consider inferior. They conquer. The command center fell silent. Everyone in the room knew what was coming. Earth's governments had been preparing for this day for 30 years, ever since the first alien signals were detected. The world had secretly united, pooling resources and knowledge to build defenses against the inevitable invasion. 3 weeks later, Earth received its first official message from the stars. The transmission came on every frequency at once, impossible to ignore or block. When President Park played it for his staff, the alien voice was cold and mechanical. Primitive inhabitants of Sol 3, you have been evaluated by the Galactic Council. Your species shows potential but lacks proper guidance. You will submit to Council authority within 30 standard days. You will surrender all weapons, accept Council oversight of your governments, and begin tribute payments of 90% of your planetary resources. Failure to comply will result in the complete sterilization of your world. You have 30 days to decide. The message ended. The command center was completely quiet for a long moment. Dr. Lee Sora broke the silence. They're giving us the same ultimatum they gave to Kepler 442b. Everyone in the room knew what had happened to Kepler 442b. The planet had been home to a peaceful civilization of artists and philosophers. When they refused to submit to the Council, their world was turned into a ball of radioactive glass. 18 billion people had died in a single day. What are our options? President Park asked. General Kim stood up. We can surrender and become slaves, or we can fight and probably die. There's a third option, Dr. Lee Sora said quietly. What's that? We can show them that humans don't break easily. President Park looked around the room at his advisors and military commanders. These people had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. They had built weapons in secret, trained soldiers in hidden bases, and developed technologies the aliens had never seen. Earth looked primitive from space, but appearances could be deceiving. Send our response, President Park ordered. Dr. Lee Sora typed a single word into the transmission system. The message went out on all frequencies, broadcast to every corner of the galaxy where the Council might be listening. Declined. The word hung in space, traveling at light speed toward Nexus Prime. It would take the message weeks to reach the Council, but President Park knew their response would come much sooner than that. War fleets moved faster than radio signals. He looked up at the screens showing Earth's cities, where billions of people lived their daily lives unaware that their world had just declared war on the galaxy's greatest power. They trusted their leaders to protect them, and President Park intended to keep that trust. The Council thought they knew everything about humanity. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Council chamber erupted with sounds that might have been laughter if they came from human throats. Instead, the noise was a mix of clicking, buzzing, and harmonic vibrations that hurt Admiral Hyun-woo's ears. The 12 Council members found Earth's response amusing. Declined. Council Speaker Veltar's crystal body flashed with bright colors. They declined our generous offer? Primitive species often react this way, said Councillor Thexmore, his ancient voice echoing through the chamber. They think their small weapons and tribal courage can stand against the Council. They learn quickly that they are wrong. Commander Zethral of the Void Hunters stepped forward. He was a massive creature covered in black scales with 4 arms and red eyes that glowed in the darkness. His species specialized in destroying worlds that refused to submit. I volunteer my fleet for the cleanup operation, honored ones. My ships need practice, and this Earth seems perfect for target training. The other Council members made approving sounds. Commander Zethral had destroyed 47 worlds in his career. Earth would be number 48. How many ships do you need? Asked Council Speaker Veltar. 50 should be enough, Commander Zethral replied. Maybe less. These humans still use chemical rockets and metal bullets. My smallest ship has shields that can stop their nuclear weapons. This will be over in hours. The Council reviewed Earth's military capabilities on the holographic display. Primitive aircraft that moved slower than Council atmospheric vehicles, ships that took months to reach their own moon, nuclear weapons that produced less energy than a Council scout ship's power core. The humans even fought wars among themselves, showing how divided and weak they were. Proceed with standard cleansing protocol, ordered Council Speaker Veltar. Make it quick. We have other worlds to evaluate this cycle. Commander Zethral bowed his massive head. It will be my pleasure, honored ones. While the Council made their plans, Earth was busy with preparations of its own. In the command center under Seoul, President Park Ji-ho watched satellite feeds showing normal life continuing around the world. People went to work, children played in parks, and nobody knew that war was coming. How long until their fleet arrives? President Park asked. Dr. Lee Sora checked her calculations. Based on the energy signatures we detected leaving their space station, I estimate 2 weeks. Maybe less if they use their fastest ships. General Kim Tae-ho stood at a wall covered with military displays. 2 weeks to finish 30 years of preparation. Are we ready? We're as ready as we'll ever be, answered Captain Moon Soo-jin, commander of the Earth Defense Corps. She was young for such an important job, but she had trained her entire life for this war. All defense platforms are armed and waiting. Our fleets are in position. President Park looked confused. Fleets? What fleets? We don't have space fleets. Captain Moon smiled. Sir, it's time to show you what we've really been building. She led the president and his staff to an elevator that went down much deeper than the command center. The ride took 5 minutes, descending through solid rock into the Earth's crust. When the doors opened, President Park gasped. The cavern was enormous, carved from living rock and filled with spacecraft. Hundreds of sleek vessels hung in the artificial gravity, their hulls gleaming under bright lights. Some were small fighters designed for quick strikes. Others were massive ships that could carry thousands of soldiers. All of them looked far more advanced than anything Earth was supposed to possess. My God, President Park whispered. How long have you been building these? 30 years, replied Dr. Cho Min-ho, head of the Terra Research Institute. He was an old man with white hair and tired eyes, but his voice was proud. Ever since we detected the first alien signals, we knew this day would come. We've been preparing. General Kim activated a holographic display showing the solar system. Red dots appeared throughout the system, marking hidden bases and weapon platforms. We have shipyards on the dark side of the moon, weapons platforms disguised as asteroids, and defense stations hidden in the outer planet's rings. The International Space Station that everyone can see, it's actually a fortress armed with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. President Park stared at the display. How did you keep this secret? Carefully, answered Dr. Cho Min-ho. Every weather satellite, every space probe, every piece of equipment we launched had a secret purpose. We told the world we were exploring space for science. Really, we were building the largest military force in human history. Captain Moon Soo-jin walked to one of the spacecraft and placed her hand on its hull. This is the battle cruiser Defiance. She's armed with weapons based on physics the aliens think we don't understand. Quantum torpedoes, gravity cannons, and shield generators that can stop anything they throw at us. How do you know they're weapons? President Park asked. Dr. Lee Sora activated another display. We've been listening to their communications for decades. We know their technology, their tactics, and their weaknesses. They think we're primitive because we use chemical rockets and nuclear power. They don't know that we chose to appear weak while we built our real defenses. The display showed intercepted alien messages describing dozens of conquered worlds. Each invasion followed the same pattern. The aliens would arrive with overwhelming force, destroy the planet's defenses in hours, then demand surrender. Species that fought back were wiped out completely. They've never faced an enemy that was ready for them, General Kim said. Every world they conquered was surprised and unprepared. We've had 30 years to study their methods. General Yang Su-young, commander of the Lunar Defense Forces, appeared on a communication screen. Behind her, massive weapons could be seen moving into position. Sir, Sanctuary Base is fully operational. Our long-range sensors show the alien fleet is moving toward us. 50 ships, just as we predicted. Only 50? Captain Moon asked. They really do think we're helpless. Let them think that, President Park said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. When do we reveal our true capabilities? When they get close enough that they can't escape, General Kim replied. Operation Shield Wall begins the moment they enter our outer defense perimeter. President Park looked around at his military commanders and scientists. These people had spent their entire careers preparing for this moment. They had built weapons in secret, trained soldiers in hidden bases, and planned for every possible scenario. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive world armed with simple rockets and chemical weapons. They were about to discover that humans were very good at hiding their true strength until the perfect moment to strike. The Council had made the same mistake that Earth's predators had made for millions of years. They assumed that because something looked weak, it actually was weak. Commander Zethral was bringing 50 ships to destroy what he thought was a defenseless world. Instead, he was flying into the largest trap in galactic history. The war for Earth was about to begin, and the aliens had no idea what they were really facing. Commander Zethral stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Edge. The massive ship was 3 kilometers long and armed with enough weapons to crack a planet's crust. Around him, 49 other vessels moved in perfect formation through the darkness of space. This was the most powerful fleet the Void Hunters had ever assembled, though Zethral thought it was complete overkill for a primitive world like Earth. Sir, we are entering the Sol system, reported his navigation officer, a thin creature with too many eyes. The target world is directly ahead. Zethral looked at the blue and green planet growing larger on his screens. It looked peaceful and defenseless. A few primitive satellites orbited the world, and he could see the lights of cities on the night side. Soon those lights would be gone forever. Any sign of their military? He asked. Negative, sir. We detect a few small space stations and some chemical-powered rockets, but nothing that could threaten us. Their most powerful weapons appear to be basic nuclear devices that our shields will easily stop. Zethral's red eyes glowed with satisfaction. Excellent. Signal the fleet to maintain formation. We will establish position near their moon and demand surrender. When they refuse, we will demonstrate our power by destroying one of their cities. They will submit quickly after that. On the hidden side of Earth's moon, Captain Lee Hansol watched the alien fleet approach through the most advanced sensors humanity had ever built. Sanctuary Base looked like a simple mining operation from space, but beneath the fake equipment was the most powerful weapons platform in the solar system. 50 ships, just as predicted, Captain Lee reported to Earth. They're moving in standard council formation, completely confident. No scouts, no advanced positioning. They think this will be easy. Dr. Park Hae-jin monitored the battle from Earth's command center. Around her, hundreds of technicians tracked every alien ship while coordinating humanity's hidden defenses. All platforms report ready, she announced. Operation Shield Wall is go. The alien fleet reached the moon and stopped. Commander Zethral opened a communication channel that broadcast to the entire Earth. Primitive humans of Sol 3, I am Commander Zethral of the Galactic Council Fleet. You have refused our generous offer of submission. This was a mistake. I will now demonstrate the price of defying the Council. Surrender immediately or watch your world burn. President Park Ji-ho answered from the command center. Commander Zethral, this is President Park of Earth. We have considered your offer carefully. Our answer remains the same. We decline. Commander, Zethral's laughter echoed across all frequencies. "Foolish humans, your courage is admirable but pointless. Weapons officer, destroy one of their larger cities. Let them see what happens to those who refuse the Council's wisdom." The Dominion's Edge turned its massive guns toward Earth. Energy began building in the weapon systems, enough power to vaporize a mountain. But before the alien ship could fire, something impossible happened. A metal rod moving at 30,000 kilometers per second struck the flagship's shields. The tungsten projectile, no bigger than a telephone pole, hit with the force of a nuclear bomb. The alien shields flared and collapsed under the impact. "What was that?" Commander Zethral shouted. More rods fell from space like deadly rain. They came from orbital platforms that had been disguised as weather satellites for decades. Each rod was accelerated by magnetic rails to incredible speeds, turning simple metal into weapons more destructive than anything the aliens expected from a primitive world. The gods' hammers, as the human engineers called them, tore through the alien. Fleet like bullets through paper. Ship after ship lost their shields under the kinetic bombardment. Hulls cracked, weapon systems exploded, and atmosphere vented into space. "Impossible!" Commander Zethral screamed as another tungsten rod punched through his ship's armor. "They don't have this technology!" Captain Lee Hansol smiled as he watched the alien fleet fall apart. "Surprise," he whispered, then gave the order that would change galactic history. "All platforms, open fire." Across the solar system, humanity's true defenses revealed themselves. Asteroid mining stations opened up to show massive particle cannons. Dead satellites came back to life and fired quantum torpedoes. The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire as decades of secret preparation finally paid off. Dr. Park Hye-jin coordinated the battle from her command center. Every screen showed alien ships taking damage from weapons they didn't understand. Phase 1 complete. All hidden platforms are active and firing. Enemy shields are down on 37 ships. The aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed for fighting other energy-based systems. They had powerful lasers and plasma cannons that could destroy most spacecraft, but they couldn't hit targets moving at relativistic speeds. The tungsten rods were too fast and too small. For their targeting systems, Commander Zethral's flagship was burning as he tried to understand what was happening. How do they have kinetic weapons? How do they have quantum technology? Our intelligence said they were primitive. His weapons officer, bleeding from a head wound, shouted over the alarms. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. They have weapon platforms hidden everywhere." This was a trap. More human weapons came online. Gravity mines hidden in the asteroid belt activated, pulling alien ships off course and into collision paths. Solar collectors that had appeared to be scientific instruments revealed themselves as high-energy laser arrays. Even the International Space Station, which the aliens had dismissed as primitive, opened fire with weapons that could crack a moon. The battle turned into a massacre. The alien fleet had expected to fight chemical rockets and nuclear missiles. Instead, they faced weapons based on physics their scientists thought impossible for a species this young. Humanity had spent 30 years studying alien technology and finding ways to defeat it. Commander Zethral watched his fleet die around him. 30 ships were already destroyed or crippled. The others were scattered and trying to escape, but the humans had positioned their weapons to cover all possible retreat routes. "Sir, we need to withdraw," his navigation officer pleaded. "We can't fight weapons we don't understand." "No," Commander Zethral snarled. "We are the Void Hunters. We do not run from primitives." He opened a channel to his remaining ships. "All vessels, target the planet directly. If we cannot conquer it, we will destroy it completely." The surviving alien ships turned their weapons toward Earth itself. Massive energy beams lanced out toward the blue world, carrying enough power to boil the oceans. But the beams never reached their target. Instead, they struck invisible shields that covered the entire planet. The energy was absorbed and redirected. back at the alien fleet, turning their own weapons against them. Dr. Park Hae-jin smiled as she watched the alien admiral's flagship take a direct hit from its own main gun. Planetary shields at full power. All reflected energy has found its targets. Commander Zethral's ship exploded in a ball of fire. The commander himself survived, but barely. His escape pod drifted among the wreckage of his once mighty fleet as he sent a desperate message to the Council. "This is Commander Zethral. The humans were not primitive. They were waiting for us. The entire Sol system is a fortress. My fleet is destroyed. I repeat, the Earth fleet is destroyed. These creatures are not what they appear to be." The message raced across space toward Nexus Prime, carrying news that would shake the Council to its foundation. For the first time in 3,000 years, a Council fleet had been utterly defeated. The humans had won their first battle, but the war was just beginning. The Council chamber on Nexus Prime had never been so quiet. Commander Zethral's message played for the third time, his broken voice echoing through the massive space. The 12 Council members sat in stunned silence as they tried to understand what they had just heard. "Impossible," whispered Councillor Thexeral, his crystal body flickering with confused colors. "No primitive world has ever defeated a Council fleet. Ever." Council Speaker Veltar's harmonics cracked with rage. 50 ships, 50 of our finest warships, destroyed by creatures who still use chemical rockets. How is this possible? Admiral. Hyunwoo stood in the center of the circle, his blue skin pale with shock. He had been the one to discover Earth, the one who had reported them as primitive and harmless. Now his career and possibly his life were in danger. "Speaker, I swear by my ancestors that our intelligence was accurate," he said desperately. "The humans showed no signs of advanced technology. No faster-than-light travel, no energy shields, no quantum weapons. They were fighting wars with metal bullets and chemical explosives. Yet somehow they destroyed Commander Zethral's entire fleet," rumbled High Counselor Thexmore of the Ancient Dominion. The oldest member of the Council had seen 3,000 years of galactic history, but never anything like this. "Either our intelligence was completely wrong, or these humans are far more dangerous than any species we have ever encountered." Counselor Mordeth, the shadow creature, spoke with a voice like winter wind. "There is another possibility. What if they were never primitive at all? What if they have been watching us, studying us, preparing for this moment?" The thought sent a chill through the chamber. The Council had ruled the galaxy for millennia by being the most advanced civilization. If Earth had secretly developed technology equal to or better than theirs, everything would change. "We must respond with overwhelming force," declared Counselor Kexlar of the Warcast. "Assemble the Grand Armada. Every ship, every weapon, every warrior we possess. We will not make the mistake of underestimating them again." Council Speaker Veltar's crystal body blazed with fury. "Agreed. No species may defy the Council and survive. Earth will be made an example that the galaxy will remember for 1,000 years." The orders went out across Council space. From a dozen home worlds, the most powerful military force in galactic history began to assemble. 1,000 ships of war, each one capable of destroying a planet. The Grand Armada had never been defeated in battle. It had crushed rebellions, conquered empires, and turned entire star systems into dust. Admiral Kulez of the Stellar Hegemony took command of the Armada from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. The massive vessel was 5 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack a planet's core. Around him gathered the combined fleets of 12 species, their ships filling space like a metallic storm cloud. "All fleet commanders, report." "Readiness," Admiral Kulez ordered. One by one, the reports came in. Planet-killer ships from the Crystal Dominion, reality-warping vessels from the Dimension Lords, harvester ships that could strip a world's biosphere in hours. The most destructive force ever assembled was ready to destroy a single blue planet. On Earth, the celebration of their first victory was short-lived. Deep space sensors detected the massive fleet gathering at the edge of Council territory. The readings were so incredible that Dr. Lee So-ra had to check them 3 times before she believed them. "President Park, you need to see this," she said, her voice shaking. The command center's main screen showed a tactical display of the approaching armada. Red dots filled the display, each one representing a ship larger and more powerful than anything in Earth's fleet. The numbers kept climbing as more vessels joined the formation. "How many?" President Park asked quietly. 1,000 ships, sir. Maybe more. They're bringing everything they have." General Kim Tae-ho studied the display with professional calm, but his face was grim. "Our hidden fleet has 200 ships. Our orbital platforms might account for another 50 of theirs before being destroyed. Even with all our advantages, we're outnumbered 5-1 by superior technology." Colonel Jang Min-ki, commander of Earth's evacuation forces, stepped forward. "Sir, I recommend we begin moving civilians to the deep shelters immediately. If we're going to fight this battle, we need to protect as many people as possible." President Park nodded. Around the world, hidden bunkers that could house millions of people began opening. Families were quietly moved underground while the surface world continued its normal routine. Most humans still didn't know that the fate of their species hung in the balance. Dr. Shin Yuna, Earth's lead physicist, worked frantically in her laboratory beneath Mount Fuji. Project Prometheus was humanity's last desperate gambit, a weapon so dangerous it might destroy Earth's entire solar system. But facing the Grand Armada, it might be their only hope. "How much time do we have?" she asked her assistant. "The Armada will reach our outer defenses in 6 days," he replied. "Maybe less if they push their engines." Dr. Shin Yu-na looked at the experimental device taking shape in her lab. It was smaller than a car, but contained enough compressed exotic matter to rewrite the laws of physics in a localized area. If her calculations were correct, it could neutralize the technological advantage that made the Council supreme. If she was wrong, it would turn the solar system into a black hole. "We need 4 more days to complete the calibration," she said. "I hope our defenses can buy us that time." Captain Hong Jung-min was already working on that problem. His job was to coordinate with resistance movements throughout Council space, species that had been conquered and enslaved but never broken. Earth's defiance had given them hope, and now they were ready to fight back. "Confirmed uprisings on 12 worlds," he reported to the command staff. "The Altarians have seized their orbital defense platforms. The Vegan colonies are in open rebellion. The Centauri Republic has declared independence and is requesting military support." President Park felt a spark of hope. "Can we help them?" "Not directly, sir. But we don't have to. These species have been planning their rebellions for decades, waiting for someone to show that the Council could be beaten. Our victory over Commander Zethral's fleet has lit a fire that's spreading across the galaxy." General Yang Su-young appeared on the communications screen from her lunar command post. "Sir, long-range sensors show the Grand Armada is beginning to move. They'll be here in less than a week." President Park looked around at his advisors and commanders. These brave people had already achieved the impossible by defeating a Council fleet. Now they faced odds that would terrify any rational military. "Commander, Admiral Kulez is bringing the most powerful fleet in galactic history to destroy us," he said quietly. "They have more ships, bigger weapons, and 3,000 years of military experience. Any other species would surrender now and hope for mercy." He paused, looking at each person in the room. "But we're not any other species. We're humans. And humans don't surrender when the stakes are this high." The room filled with determined voices as Earth's leaders made their final preparations. Outside, the stars looked peaceful and beautiful, but somewhere in that darkness, 1,000 alien warships were coming to end humanity's brief rebellion against galactic tyranny. The greatest battle in the history of the galaxy was about to begin, and Earth stood alone against impossible odds. The Grand Armada arrived at Earth like a storm of metal and death. Admiral Kulez watched from his flagship as 1,000 warships took position around the blue planet. Each vessel was a masterpiece of destruction, capable of cracking worlds and boiling oceans. Together they carried enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. "Deploy siege formation," Admiral Kulez ordered. "I want this planet surrounded completely. Nothing gets in or out." The alien ships moved into a perfect sphere around Earth. Their weapons trained on the surface. Cities glowed like jewels in the darkness, unaware that death hung above them in the void. "Admiral, we are detecting the same defensive platforms that destroyed Commander Zethral's fleet," reported his tactical officer. "Kinetic weapon launchers, quantum torpedo batteries, and energy shields around the planet." Admiral Kulez studied the tactical display. The humans had impressive defenses for a primitive world, but they were still vastly outnumbered. "Begin the bombardment. Target their orbital weapons first, then their cities. Show them what happens when you defy the Council." The Grand Armada opened fire. Beams of pure energy lanced through space, each one carrying enough power to vaporize a mountain. The volley struck Earth's hidden defense platforms, and explosions lit up the darkness like dying stars. But Earth was ready. Captain Nam Ji-woo activated the quantum mirror network from his command post on Luna. The mirrors, hidden throughout the solar system for decades, caught the incoming fire and reflected it back at the attacking fleet. Energy beams that should have destroyed Earth's defenses instead struck alien ships, turning their own weapons against them. "Impossible!" Admiral Kulez shouted as he watched dozens of his ships take damage from their own guns. "How are they? Doing this?" Dr. Shin Yuna's voice echoed across all frequencies as she activated Project Prometheus from her laboratory beneath Mount Fuji. "Admiral Kulez, this is Dr. Shin Yuna of Earth. You wanted to see our technology. Now you will experience it." The device deep under the mountain came to life. Exotic matter compressed beyond normal physics created a field that spread outward from Earth at the speed of light. When it reached the alien fleet, something incredible happened. Their faster-than-light engines simply stopped working. Their quantum communicators fell silent. The advanced technology that made them superior to other species suddenly became useless. "Engineering report," Admiral Kulez demanded. "Sir, our jump drives are offline. Communication with the homeworlds is impossible. Something is interfering with our quantum systems at a fundamental level." Admiral Kulez realized the trap too late. The humans had not just prepared weapons to fight the Council. They had found a way to neutralize the Council's greatest advantage. Without faster-than-light travel, the Grand Armada was trapped in Earth's solar system with no way to retreat or call for reinforcements. "All ships, conventional weapons only," he ordered. "We still outnumber them. We will destroy them with raw firepower." The battle that followed shook the solar system. 1,000 alien warships fought against Earth's hidden fleet and orbital defenses. But the humans had spent 30 years studying alien tactics and weaknesses. They knew exactly how. The Council fought and had prepared counters for every strategy. General Kwon Da-hoon led Earth's secret fleet into battle. The human ships were smaller than the alien vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. They struck like wolves, hitting weak points and retreating before the enemy could respond. Each human ship had been designed to fight multiple alien vessels, using superior tactics and technology. "All squadrons, execute Pattern 7, General Kwon ordered. Target their weapon systems and engines. Leave the command sections intact. We want prisoners, not just wreckage." The human fighters swarmed through the alien formation like angry wasps. Their weapons had been designed specifically to penetrate Council shields and armor. Quantum torpedoes phased through energy barriers. Gravity cannons crushed hulls like tin cans. Plasma cutters sliced through the strongest alien materials. Major Song Yun-ji coordinated the information warfare from Earth's command center. As the battle raged, she activated hidden transmitters throughout Council space. The rebellion that had started with Earth's first victory, now exploded across the galaxy. All Council tributary worlds. This is Major Song Yunji of Earth, she broadcast on every frequency. The Grand Armada is trapped and being destroyed. The Council's reign of terror is ending. Rise up. Fight for your freedom. Across the galaxy, enslaved worlds heard the message and saw the impossible truth. The mighty Council fleet was losing to a single primitive planet. If Earth could defeat them, anyone could. Rebellions erupted on hundreds of worlds as species that had been conquered centuries ago finally saw their chance for freedom. Admiral Kulez watched his fleet die around him. Half his ships were already destroyed or crippled. The others were scattered and fighting desperately against an enemy they had underestimated completely. His own flagship was taking heavy damage from weapons he still didn't understand. "Sir, we're receiving reports from throughout Council space," his communication officer reported with fear in his voice. "Rebellions on every world. Our tributary species are rising up everywhere. The Empire is collapsing." The Admiral's crystalline face cracked with despair. In trying to crush one rebellious world, the Council had lost everything. Their fleet was destroyed, their empire in revolt, and their authority shattered forever. The battle ended when Admiral Kulez's flagship finally lost power and drifted helplessly among the wreckage. Hundreds of alien ships floated dead in space, while others surrendered to avoid complete destruction. The Grand Armada, the most powerful military force in galactic history, had been utterly defeated by the species they had dismissed as primitive. President Park Ji-ho stood in Earth's command center, watching the final alien ship surrender. Around him, his staff worked to coordinate humanitarian aid for the defeated aliens and support for the rebellion spreading across the galaxy. "Sir, we're receiving surrender offers from the surviving Council members," reported Dr. Lee So-ra. "They want to negotiate terms." President Park considered this for a moment. The Council had ruled through fear and oppression for 3,000 years. They had enslaved entire species and destroyed any world that resisted them. Justice demanded that they face the consequences of their actions. "Tell them we don't negotiate with tyrants," he said firmly. "The Council is dissolved, effective immediately. All tributary worlds are free to govern themselves. Any Council member who wants mercy can ask their former slaves for it." The message went out across the galaxy, carried by the quantum communication networks the humans had captured. On world after world, enslaved species read the terms of their liberation and wept with joy. The nightmare of Council rule was finally over. Months later, President Park addressed the First Galactic Assembly, a gathering of free worlds working together as equals. Representatives from hundreds of species came to Earth to thank humanity for breaking the chains that had bound them for millennia. The Council thought they ruled everything, President Park said to the assembled delegates. They believed that superior technology and overwhelming force made them the masters of the galaxy, but they forgot something important. They forgot that even the smallest creature will fight when cornered, and that freedom is worth any sacrifice. He looked out at the diverse crowd of aliens who had once been slaves and were now free citizens of their own worlds. Humans don't just fight to survive. We fight so that everyone else gets the chance to survive too. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us strong. The applause that followed could be heard across the galaxy, a sound of hope and freedom that would echo through history. The age of the Council was over. The age of cooperation and mutual respect had begun. Earth had not just won a war. They had freed an entire galaxy.